This is All 32 Picks and IPAs, your NFL and craft beer fancast, with your hosts Adam Emmert, Brandan Schultz, and Gerrad Tim. Play along at picksandIPAs.com/join. Hooray football! Hooray beer!
This is All 32 Picks and IPAs. I'm Brandan Schultz. Joining me, my good buddy, Adam Emmert.
Hey there, dude. Just sitting here in last place between the three of us. It's fine. I'm not worried. It's good. It was a great week last week.
I know,
great week.
I'm going out of order and going last place first this week.
Yeah, thanks.
And which means we're also joined by Gerrad Tim.
Who's happy Adam feels like a loser. Brandan, how many did you have last week? How many points did you have?
150. I only missed 5 games.
Oh, so you're the winner of the three of us then. I had 140,
Wow.
so you topped me even.
Yeah. How about that, guys? Giving me a hard time. That'll show you. I know my week one
You sucked
picks.
so bad last year. I have a feeling that this was just the aberration then.
No,
I'm 1-0
This
this
is a
week.
coincidence.
I'm 1-0 already.
I don't think
Well,
so.
that might be true.
All right.
But yeah, we already have a game in the books. We're recording this right after the Thursday night game because that was the soonest we could all get together. But we all made a pick. Should we talk about that pick real quick first, or did you want to introduce our beer that we're drinking?
Well, yeah, this week we are drinking the Goose IPA, and we'll be reviewing that. That's from the Goose Island Beer Company, and we'll be talking about that about midway through the show.
Cool. All right, man. Well, let's talk about the first game that just went down here on Thursday, and that was the New York Football Jets on the road to visit T-Mobile and the Buffalo Bills. The brothers Ryan, welcome back. Rex Ryan's old team on a 5-game losing streak to the Bills, and the Bills get rolled 37-31. I don't think it was that close, Gerrad.
The score wasn't even close to... I mean, it is not indicative to what had happened. This is an inept Bills team I saw. I mean... I picked the Jets, pretty thankful about that, but the Bills are much worse than I expected. So Jets still have a pretty decent defense. I thought they won this with ease, even though the score was close.
The Jets at least put up some, well, the Bills at least put up some points. The Jets, they had their way moving the ball. I don't know if they had a punt throughout the first half. The Jets looked good moving the ball against the Bills defense, that Rex Ryan vaunted defense of the Bills.
No longer vaunted, dude. This I think maybe we've seen who the Bills are early. I don't know that they're a good team. I mean, they couldn't put together anything offensively week 1. Defense looks good week 2. Defense can't get anything done. The Beard lights them up for 374 yards.
The Bills didn't even have a snap in the red zone until, what, late in the third quarter?
Late in the 4th.
Yeah, that ain't good.
So
T-Mobile, not quite effective.
Well, I don't even know if it's him. I mean, I think part of it is getting rid of Carlos Williams from last year, who was really a kind of a revelation for them at running back. I think really kind of changed the identity of this team from the 1-2 punch of Shady and Carlos Williams. Now it's just Shady, and they just kind of try to string him out and go from there.
Yeah, bringing in Rob Ryan doesn't help either.
Yeah, right. That seems
I blame this on the Ryan brothers, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
It's their fault.
All right.
So Gerrad and I both start out 1-0. Adam, you're already in the hole.
I'm already.
That's how it should be.
Yeah, it's just week 2. Just like last week was just week 1.
It's just week 16, guys.
Yeah, no big deal. All right, guys, let's get into some of the rest of the picks here for the week. Moving on to NFC matchup, the New Orleans Saints on the road to take on the New York Football Giants, Brandan. These are two teams that I think one's clearly better here, to be honest.
Well, I went with the Saints last week thinking that they would be able to put up enough points to win that game. They nearly did. They had an opportunity to kick the field goal to win the game against the Raiders. But Jack Del Rio going for 2 at the end of the game. Everybody liking that. I think his balls were trending on Twitter, according to his daughter, which was interesting. But
in regards to their size, is that what they were trending?
In regard to the balls it took to go for 2.
Yes.
So, yeah, the Giants taking on the Saints. The Giants are at home. I like the Giants here. They got the win against the Cowboys in week 1, and now they're coming back home. And I just don't think you can count on that Saints defense to hold on. and keep a Giants offense from scoring enough points to win the game. That's what happened to the Raiders, and I think that's going to be a constant theme for the Saints this year. I'm going Giants along with 70% user consensus.
Jared, are you going with the user consensus?
Yeah, I'm going with the 70%. I mean, they both were in close games last week, which was good, but one of these teams pulled it out and one didn't. And I think that the Saints secondary is still kind of in question a little bit. Their defense didn't play all that well. And Adam, like you said before, it's the Giants' turn.
Yeah.
And they're going to win this game.
Look, I thought the Giants defense actually played an okay game in their week 1 performance, but the Saints' defense is a dumpster fire, man. Mm-hmm. That defense, we talked about it not getting better, and in fact, it may have gotten even worse somehow. That's after just talking about Rob Ryan and leading a totally inept Bills defense this week, and now his team that he was with last, that defense got even worse. So without him, I don't know how the heck that happens, but man, they cut CJ Spiller this week, which was surprising to me. Has he picked up with the team yet? Does anybody know? I haven't heard it, but
you got to expect it's going to happen, though.
Yeah, that guy's. I think he's still got some talent. I mean, I'd be surprised if he didn't play somewhere.
I don't know. I haven't seen him play yet this year.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But anyways, I think the Saints are just a terrible team. I'm going with the Giants all day. I think they're a division-winning team this year.
Yeah,
Spiller still a free agent.
What's that? Free agent. Okay.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to another NFC matchup, but this is between NFC East foes. Dak, the Wonder Boy Prescott, on the road to take on Captain Kirk and a Redskins team that I thought looked like an absolute dumpster. It was a train wreck. That was a joke of a performance last week. Kirk Cousins, I think, is who we thought he was, and we saw it on display last week. Couldn't really get the offense going, had a hard time pushing the ball down the field. I think the Redskins they're going to regress this year. Cowboys, that defense still isn't great, but I don't see Cousins being able to take advantage of it. I like Dak and the Dak attack. Cowboys on the road is why I've got Jared.
Well, the Redskins, how do you pick up Josh Norman in the offseason and not have him on the opponent's best receiver all game long? Why would they not do that? So maybe they don't have faith in him, but if they don't have faith in him to cover Antonio Brown, I don't have faith in that Redskins defense. And like you said, they were a train wreck last week. I don't have any faith in them whatsoever. The Cowboys lost a really close game to the Giants. I thought showed a lot of heart. I was impressed with what Dak Prescott did. I'm taking them on the road.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I'm going against the grain on this one. This is actually pretty close to a coin flip as far as user consensus goes. 56% going with the Cowboys on the road, but it's hard to tell for me. That Pittsburgh team is really, really good, and yes, they did what they were supposed to do last week against the Redskins. I just think that the Redskins at home, they're gonna be able to. I just didn't see enough from the Cowboys. I think maybe the Redskins learned a little something by not putting their star corner, Josh Norman, on Antonio Bryant, and they actually put him on Des Bryant this week, the other Bryant.
Well, I don't think you learn much from losing. It's better to learn in a win than it is to get like shellacked and lose, and then you maybe think you learned something. I don't know. I mean, I do think you make a great point about the Steelers maybe being one of the top 2 teams in the league this year, and so maybe the Redskins weren't quite as bad as they looked on last Sunday. Boy, I'm eloquent today.
Well, I think I just called Antonio Brown Antonio Bryant, so I don't think I'm much better either. But I do think that it's going to be a close game. These two teams are. I think if Romo were playing, I would easily pick the Cowboys, but instead go in Washington.
Well, and especially in the NFC East, you never really know what's going to happen, anyways. Yeah. So your guess is as good as mine.
Coin flip. It's a coin flip. And I want to pick up a game against the two of you. And, you know, if Adam had said he was going Washington, I would have gone Cowboys on this one.
You're just a dick. But that's okay. All right, moving on to a game that I think that is the exact opposite of predictable. This is extremely predictable because we see it year in and year out. Miami on the road to take on the Tom Brady-less Patriots. This is easy peasy, right, Brandon?
It's easy for me and clearly easy for users. 89% going with the Patriots, especially after that win against the Arizona Cardinals, going on the road, having their offensive linemen. Like how many healthy guys did they have in there? How many starters did the Patriots have in for offensive line? 1, 2? I know it wasn't I know they didn't have 3.
Gronk.
And still they get the win against the Arizona Cardinals, a team who has a pretty good front four. So it's I gotta go now that they're back home. I can't pick them against the Dolphins, a team that they seemingly have the number 4. Although the Dolphins have played them tough, but I like the Patriots. I like Garoppolo. You know, the Genghis. He's filling in for the Genghis in the meantime. Going Patriots.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty impressive that the Patriots actually went on the road that far against what is supposed to be a Super Bowl contender and still won the game. And the Patriots claim that they did not dumb down the playbook for Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm going to argue with that a little bit. I mean, you're not going to run Tom Brady's offense, okay? You're not just going to plug in and do that.
No.
But it was still pretty impressive. Like Brandan said, there were a lot of non-starters starting this game. And I didn't see much, if anything, from Miami last week. I mean, their defense wasn't that good. They're dropping passes. Their offense just didn't look good at all. This is an easy one, New England all the way.
I thought the Dolphins' defense looked pretty good last week for the most part. Their secondary is a little better than I think we all feared it might be coming into the season. I think that was the thing that kind of stood out to me. The defensive line is exactly what we thought with Miami. They're good, maybe not dominant, but they're pretty darn good. They've got a lot of really solid players there, but you know, like you guys have already kind of mentioned, I mean, the Patriots coming out without their 2 biggest playmakers in Tom Brady and Gronk and still laying the wood to the Cardinals in the desert. That's awesome, man. I was really stoked about that.
I picked that game.
And let's just talk historically, too. I mean, the Dolphins have been owned by the Patriots ever since Tom Brady has been in that division. So I don't see that changing anytime soon, even if it is Garoppolo. This is Patriots all day to me. All right, guys. AFC North, a team that thinks it's an awesome team and a team that truly is an awesome team. Cincinnati Bengals on the road with the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. What do you think, Jared?
Well, the only reason Cincinnati won against the Jets, I picked the Jets last week. The only reason they won that game because Brandon Marshall drops a pass for a game-winning drive. That was ridiculous. Bengals, not that good. I think they're going to regress a little bit more this year just because they haven't done anything to get better. And frankly, the Steelers are just going to be that good this year. This is an easy one for me. I'm going Steelers all the way. Bengals aren't going to beat Big Ben this year, I don't think.
Well, the Steelers are going to be good at least early, right? Because that's the big bugaboo with them is the injury bug. I mean,
as long as Ben's playing, I think they're going to be fine.
As long as Ben can stay on the field and they actually get Le'Veon back at some point and Antonio Brown doesn't go down, I don't think that they're going to have a problem with anybody, including the Bengals, who, like you mentioned, Jared, kind of lucked into a win last week. I think the Bengals, this is going to be a year where they finally start to regress a little bit. Yeah. I mean, I don't really see what they did to add to that team. I mean, they let Marvin Jones go. I don't know what your addition is. Is your addition having Andy Dalton back? I mean, is that the one thing you hang your hat on as a Bengals fan?
But I thought A.J. McCarron did just as good a job as he could have done in the playoffs, to be honest with you.
He seemed to play well. But, yeah, Steelers all day for me, Brandon.
Yeah, this is one of the games, though, that I'm looking forward to the most this weekend because we remember the last matchup with the Steelers and the Bengals. And these are 2 scrappy teams, especially the Bengals. And I think they're going to be out for a little bit of revenge. Even if they don't win, you know they're gonna want to be laying the wood to some of these Steelers players, and because you see it every time between these 2 teams. I like Pittsburgh too. The Bengals still without Tyler Eifert. He won't be back maybe until week 4. It's looking like. And like you said, with Marvin Jones out, that really leaves AJ Green as the one key weapon for the Bengals. And they still have the running game, but all those weapons on Pittsburgh, hard to keep them down. I am going with 82% of users going with the Steelers.
Over under how many ejections in this game?
Oh my goodness.
Should 4? We do at least 2 or 3?
I was going to say 3.5 is the over under.
Okay.
Yeah, 3.5. Are you taking the over or under, Jared?
I'm going to take the under because I think early on in the season with a couple of veteran quarterbacks and coaching staffs, I don't think they're going to let it get out of control yet. I think it's a different story later on in the season.
Gotcha. Brandan, over under 3.5 ejections.
Yeah, maybe you
Steelers Bengals.
Maybe you set the line a little high. I initially said 4, but I think Jared's right. It's early on enough in the season that that maybe it's not quite the game that we expect, and the tempers aren't as high as we saw in the playoffs.
I don't know. There's a lot of bad blood at the end of that.
It's true. It's true.
I think they'll be able to rein it in, but I don't think it's going to take much to tip these two teams off either.
I'm taking the over. I think there's 2 fights and both dudes get ejected both times.
And they go to 4.
They go to 4.
It'll be fun to
week
watch.
1. Who cares if we get thrown out? Huh?
It'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch. All right. A game that maybe you guys won't agree, but I find this game to actually be kind of intriguing. Niners on the road to the Carolina Panthers. Niners come out and spank the Rams 28-0. Carolina hangs tough with the Broncos in whatever it is now, Mile High Sports Authority. I don't know.
The place where the Lombardi Trophy is, that's where it is.
Brandon, I kind of feel like this is the game where we kind of start to get more of a feel if the 49ers are really better than expected or if the Panthers are a little better than what my expectations were. I think both these teams will start to show their colors a little bit.
Well, it is kind of strange when you look at this game and you see San Francisco 1-0 and Carolina 0-1. That just, it looks a little bit off. But I think it's the week for both of these teams to go in the direction that we expect them to. And user consensus clearly on that side, on the side of the Panthers, 93%. I think this is the biggest margin of user consensus for the entire week. It is. I checked. Oh, it's tied. No, it's tied with the next one. Okay, we'll get to that one next.
Okay. So Jared, with the tied user consensus, are you on board with the people?
I'm on board with this. I'm not sold on the 49ers winning one game against the lowly Rams. I mean, you're starting Case Keenum at quarterback and you're expecting him to do anything? Probably not. He hasn't shown anything. Guys who've seen him in practice, like, he's not going to go out there and just hit dimes all practice long. We knew this last year. The 49ers, I don't think, have all that good of a roster. And for the last 3 years straight, everybody's like, 49ers aren't going to be as bad as everybody thinks. They win one game, all of a sudden, that entire bandwagon is back. 49ers, better than everybody thinks. They're not. The Panthers have a way more talented roster, top to bottom. To me, this is as easy as that user consensus says. I'm going Panthers. This is an easy one, especially at home.
I'm gonna take the Panthers because it is their home opener, but I'm really curious to see who the 49ers are, I guess, is really what my question is. And we'll find out real quick. But that Chip Kelly offense, maybe his first year, he gets a little extra success with it. I mean, did win 11 games his first year in Philly. I mean, maybe there's something to it. I don't know. I have a hard time buying it. But
well, they made the Rams defense not look like the Rams defense. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And this is the first time that the NFC West has really had a team in the division run this Chip Kelly type of offense. You know, it's used to smash mouth, run the football style of offense, and this was much different than they'd seen, so maybe that was part of it. I mean, I'm still not sold on the Niners. They suck.
Yeah. All right, guys, on to the toilet bowl of the week. Add sound effect in post.
I need to get one.
Baltimore Ravens on the road to take on the Cleveland Browns, Jared. AFC North matchup. I couldn't be more bored with this.
Well, I will guarantee one thing about this game, and that is I will not be watching. I'm going with the Ravens on the road because the Browns, once again, Adam, you said RG3 was going to come back. I said he was going to come back, and then he's going to go away. He went away.
You went away fast, man. Brandon, the Browns anonymous source is saying they have now lost confidence in RG3, who's out to what, at least a week 10?
Oh, geez. Yeah. Yeah. That's it's not unexpected, but gosh, I guess it wasn't Mike Shanahan that was coaching him out there. So I guess that's something different anyway for RG3. But yeah, I mentioned user consensus for the Panthers at 93%. Users also at 93% for the Ravens. It goes to show you how little confidence that fans out there have in the Cleveland Browns. This could be an 0-16 team that we're looking at with Cleveland.
If you can play the game, name that McCown with your starting quarterback, you're gonna have a long road.
Is it Luke or Josh? It's
one of the McCowns.
Just
one of the McCowns. That is, I think what we've learned from the RG3 thing now, I think this is pretty different. No, it's like, this is why track guys can't play football. No, that's really it. He's built for track.
Yeah, but he also played football in college and survived, for the most part.
Right, that's college. I mean, the NFL, like, you can't survive as a track guy. He'd have been a great track athlete, I think, but doesn't really.
If Michael Vick would have gotten hurt like this, we'd be saying the same thing about him. But I think he has maybe
Michael
not
Vick
quite
was
the level of athleticism, but he coming out of college, he kind of was being compared to Vick.
Mike Vick had a way thicker frame than RG3. RG3 is far more wiry.
Yeah.
Vic wasn't too stout, though, and his injuries kind of piled up on him, too.
That's true. That is true. I'm going with the Ravens as well, even though they didn't look very impressive against what we now know as subpar Bills team. So I am not 93% convinced that this is going to happen. I
am.
You never know. Hugh Jackson could have his first win as the Cleveland Browns coach, but I'm going Ravens as well. Okay, Marcus Mariota and the Titans on the road to take on Matt Stafford and the Lions, who they look a little frisky. They look a little frisky week one, Brandon.
A little bit more frisky than we might have expected. I know a lot of people were going Colts. The Lions, shocking some folks, I think, and coming out, and Stafford looking pretty good. So to me, I think a lot of users are kind of recognizing that maybe not as a fluke. And 84% going with the Lions, which is where I'm going as well.
Matt Stafford does one thing really well, and that's torch mediocre secondaries. He's going to do that. He did it last week. He's going to do it again against the Titans. Still, the Titans, I think Mariota's good. He's the second best quarterback in last year's draft, but he still does not have the talent around him. And I think at home, I think the Lions are going to win this one. I mean, I'm not super intrigued by this game because I don't see either of these teams making a late season run, getting a lot of wins, or even getting into the playoffs. But I think the Lions are slightly better than the Titans, especially at home.
The Lions could end up being that random team that vaults into the playoffs this year, though. I mean, you think about the Vikings with Teddy and them going down, and the Bears not being all that great. And really their only competition being Green Bay in that division. They have a chance to be a wild card. I mean, if their schedule's cupcake soft like it has been so far, I mean, they've got a shot, and this is one of those games that you should win if you're going to take it that way. And that passing game did look pretty solid. I thought the way they used their running backs was pretty smart, and Golden Tate out there making plays. That was fun to see. But we all kind of wondered what Stafford would be without Calvin Johnson, and he's still a chucker, and he can move the ball around, and he's a middle of the pack QB, and he'll take advantage of a weak Titans defense. I'm going Lions as well.
It's going to make the NFC Central interesting, isn't it?
It is. The Teddy injury changed a lot, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like how you let me slide on calling it the Central. I'm going to continue to do that, just so you know.
The NFC just isn't super exciting. So, yeah, when a team like the Lions, you're talking wild card, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's part of it is the NFC's not super deep. So that's the other reason I think that they could make it. But
all right, guys. Well, guess what time it is? It's time for the beer review.
Time.
Next up, this week's beer review.
All right, this week we are drinking the Goose Island Goose IPA, and brewed by Goose Island Beer Company, actually owned by InBev, Anheuser-Busch right now. They bought them out a while back, but let's see. Wow. Commercial description here off of ratebeer.com says, our IPA recalls a time when ales shipped from England to India were highly hopped to preserve their distinct taste during the long journey. The result, quite simply, a hop lover's dream. And this classic ale adds a fruity aroma set off by a dry malt middle to ensure that the long hop finish is one you'll remember.
I suppose I learned something about an IPA and why it's so hoppy.
Oh yeah,
history lesson.
Yeah, it's scurvy, dude. that's why they're so citrusy.
The rats didn't like the hops.
No, you got. Is scurvy a rat thing?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
I think it's just a non fruit eaters thing.
Gotcha. Well, anyways, you said that they had sold out to InBev, and I have mixed feelings about those sort of things, but these guys, they probably started this from scratch. They offered them a nice check and keep getting them checks.
Right.
So,
I don't support that, but yeah, he probably made some money.
Yeah, so I get it. As I've gotten a little older, when we get to IPAs, it's tough for me to really make a distinguishment between, because that's a word, between the IPAs, to be honest. I mean, this tastes like your average IPA. I don't really know what else to say.
Yeah, it's good for an IPA, but it tastes like another IPA.
Right.
You can put 5 IPAs in front of me, and I wouldn't know which one is which.
I think that's one of the appeals to this is it's kind of an easy drinking IPA. It doesn't distinguish itself really apart from others. I read a review saying that, this is barely an IPA. And so I guess if you're going to get into it, this might be one of those ones that you want to get into. I know a lot of the, what's that brewing company out of Oregon? Deschutes makes a lot of IPAs, and they're all kind of comparable there. And I would put that there. Alcohol by volume on this one, 5.9%.
That's pretty average for an IPA, which is pretty good.
It is.
But you're right. This is, if you're going to get into an IPA or want to try one, this is probably the one because it is lighter, a little bit smoother. It's not overpowering.
Yeah, well, and I guess that's the whole point of the IPA taste, right? Just through your description, Brandon, is that it still has flavor after it's been at sea for 8 months, So, I mean, I kind of get it, but this isn't like extra hoppy, say like Sierra Nevada's Torpedo or anything like that. I mean, it's not gonna make your tongue curl up in your mouth,
or like the Stone IPA. Yeah, that.
Yeah,
and the hops actually come from Bonners Ferry, Idaho.
Oh wow, that's a really beautiful area. That's cool. All right, well, enough about beer, huh?
I'm with the
More
picks.
about
All
football?
right. I'm not going to stop drinking it, though.
No, we're gonna drink more of these. Chiefs at Texans, Brandon. You're Texans. I know you're on board. They're still your Texans. Don't lie to me. But these are also your Chiefs. So this is like, I'm having to ask you which one of your daughters you love the most, Brandon. And we all know that it's Ilsa.
Both want to know.
That is mean.
These teams, you mentioned it. These are kind of my two favorite AFC teams. And I don't know how the Chiefs became one of my favorite AFC teams, but I know the Texans. I know the history behind that as to why I started liking them. And
I know exactly why the Chiefs became one of your favorite teams, because Alex Smith is Captain Safe. And it speaks to your demeanor.
I don't understand the appeal of the Chiefs to you, Brandon. I will never get this.
Well, I guess I had to pick one AFC, being a Seahawks fan and picking a former AFC West team to kind of root for. I couldn't pick the Broncos, and
why?
Couldn't pick the Raiders.
You know why?
and the Chargers have just never been good, so I couldn't pick that. And so maybe just by default, that's where it went with the Chiefs. But I like Andy Reid as a coach, not as a playoff coach, but I like him as a regular season coach. For the Texans, though, the reason why I got on board with them is just based off of fantasy football and having Arian Foster on my team back when he was in his heyday with the Texans, and now they have Brock Osweiler. Now they're 1-0, and essentially I could go with user consensus on this one. It's kind of 50-50. 47% only going with the Texans, even though they are the home team. I like Houston being the home team. I like their defense. I think DeAndre Hopkins is a wide receiver. Lamar Miller, the running game. I like the Texans. That's who I'm going with.
I like Andy Reid as a coach, too, because we just never got to worry about him. And you know that if the clock starts ticking, it's under 3 minutes of a game and they have the ball, you're safe. Chalk it up to a win.
It's a win.
But when I look at this game, I'm always going to cheer for Brock. I like him. Montana guy, played with us for a little bit, goes to Houston. I think all day long, Houston has a more talented roster. But right now, so much revolves around J.J. Watt. That defense completely revolves around him. And he's just not 100% yet. He's not that dynamic player that we're used to seeing. So what this comes down to for me is that we just watched the Chiefs have an amazing comeback win. I think they're going to ride that momentum. I think they're going to be a really good regular season team. What it comes down to for me is that the Chiefs are a more veteran team at this point, and the Houston Texans are still kind of trying to put this together. They have a young team, a new quarterback. I don't think they're going to be able to overcome a veteran team who just knows how to win in the regular season. I'm going with the Chiefs.
So I struggled with this one a lot, actually, because first off, I think if you're looking at these two teams, I think the Texans have the better defense of the two, and it's
Yeah.
not by a lot, but they do. They have a better defense, and I think if you look at the offenses, they're probably pretty comparable, although the one thing that gives me some pause with the Texans is Lamar Miller. I know he got his 100 yards and everything last week, but it was on a zillion carries.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he didn't look great. They just rode him, and I guess that's fine, and they got to the win. But look, Brock needs to start pushing the ball down the field a little bit more. It's in him.
Mhm.
He needs to do it. He's got the weapon in DeAndre Hopkins. Just chuck it up to that guy. He's a chuck it up receiver. That's what you do. Like, I mean, he's one of those guys that can go up and get it. So I guess what it boiled down to me was a slightly better defense for the Texans, and they're at home. And I know that's weak sauce analysis, but home cooking tastes good.
You are right about Brock, though. I mean, even when we saw him play those few games with the Broncos, he doesn't push the ball down the field yet. I think he's got it in him. I think it'll come, but this would be a good opportunity for him to test that.
All right. So Gerrad, the only one with the Chiefs.
Pains me.
All right, moving on, Brandan, to our beloved Seahawks on the road to take on the Rams. For those of you who want a little bit more about what Brandan and I think, you can tune into Seahawkers Podcast. That's at Seahawkerspodcast.com. So I'll defer to Gerrad here first. An NFC West rivalry. What you got?
I'm going Seahawks 6-3.
Wow.
That's it.
In that depth of analysis, I'm so glad that we deferred to Gerrad on that one.
Man, the Rams are just putrid. I mean, come on. And
are they really that bad? Or
and
do
the
they just have a
Seahawks didn't
clunker?
really move the ball that much against a fairly mediocre Dolphins team. I mean, I don't think that they're not going to kick it in at some point. It's just there's going to be a few boring games early on in the season, especially with these NFC West teams.
So you think the Rams playing at home, they couldn't score any points on the road against San Francisco, but you think them going back home, that's what sparks them to get points on the board for the first time this season?
Oh, yeah. They're going to be so motivated for that field goal. Oh, man. I bet they get it in like the first quarter.
And Todd Gurley's, 64 yards?
No, something stupid is going to happen where like you guys will be on a kick return or something very beginning of the game and just fumble and they get it on the 10-yard line. Don't move the ball at all and kick a field goal.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. They're not going to earn it.
Well, they never do against us. Like all the traditional things that you look at when it comes to winning a football game, throw them out the window when we play the Rams. I don't know what it is. It's absolutely crazy the way all that works. So, I mean, obviously, I've got the Seahawks. I do think they're the better team all around. I think the defense is better than the Rams' defense, and I think that Russell Wilson isn't going to be nearly as hampered by that ankle as a lot of people think that he might be. I mean, he really finished out the game fine. And let's face it, he's only slept 6 hours total this week so far, Brandan.
I don't believe it.
He's ready to rock.
What exactly is he plotting?
I don't know, but it's a little scary, man. Like, that's not natural, dude. That's like vampire sleeping.
Yeah, when I heard that, I couldn't believe it. 6 hours for the whole week. I mean, come on.
He is a newlywed.
Yeah.
That's
pound sign. No time to sleep.
That's two fewer in number than the percentage that voted for the Rams to beat the Seahawks this week. Only 8% going with the Rams. So, and that's like a full night of sleep in one day. And he got less than that for the whole week. But even without the sleep, I still think Russell Wilson's going to have a good game going with the Seahawks and the 92%.
All righty. This is maybe the most interesting game on the schedule to me this week because I think these two teams might be the exact same in talent level this year. And that's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going on the road to Arizona, take on the Cardinals, Brandan. And we saw the Cardinals kind of get pushed around in their house last week by the Patriots. That's got to be a little concerning to that high-flying offense. And then we saw famous Jameis come out and drop 4 touchdowns on the heads of the opponent, just smoked them. Like, I like the Buccaneers' talent. I think they have a lot of good young players. I just think this week going up against the Cardinals are going to get it together here a little bit. I mean, I don't see Bruce Arians dropping 2 in a row at home out of the gate. I hope to God they do. That'd be great. But I think that Carson Palmer can get it together enough. The defense will be able to rattle Winston a little bit here and there, just because he is still a young quarterback. And, Ty Matthew is a tough dude to go up against. Patrick Peterson, tough dude to go up against. I'm going to take the Cardinals at home, but I don't feel good about it.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm taking the Cardinals essentially for the same reason that I took them against the Patriots, because I will be happy either way. If they win, then I can be happy that I got a point and pick them. And if they lose, then I can be happy that the Seahawks will be another game ahead of them. So it'll be a win-win for me to pick the Cardinals. I'm going to be rooting like heck for the Bucs. I think they do have an improved team. I didn't pick them to win last week, but they showed me. And I do like the Cardinals. And if they go down 0-2, well, they're not going to be too bad off, because the next 3 games are against cupcakes, against Buffalo, the Rams, and then San Francisco. So even if they go down 0-2, they're going to be on the better side of 500 after week 5.
You know, after watching the Cardinals play in the playoffs last year, I have realized that they are one of the most overrated teams in football. And they didn't do too much. I mean, they got a few pieces defensively over the offseason, but I didn't think they did enough to be considered a Super Bowl contender. And then New England, a legitimate Super Bowl contender, comes in with a backup quarterback and beats them. I think their egos are going to be rather bruised after that last game, because they're just kind of trying to pick up the pieces, wondering what happened. And I think the Buccaneers are going to be riding this high because, as Adam said, Jameis Winston just came off of a 4-touchdown game. I think this young team is going to be rallying behind him a lot more than the Cardinals' aging roster is going to be rallying behind Carson Palmer. I think you're right, though. I think these rosters are fairly similar talent-wise. I just think the Bucs have a little more momentum going into this game. I'm going with the Bucs on the road.
And really, with this being Dirk Cutter's first year as head coach, and a guy who's got, a pretty good resume as far as being an offensive coordinator and scoring points, I think it's really interesting that Bucs offense came out and kind of lit the world on fire week 1. It's kind of looking like Tampa Bay may have made the right decision by letting Lovey go. Which,
yeah, I didn't know if I agreed with it right away.
Yeah. But it seems to be working so far. I'm hoping for the Bucs, but picking the Cards mainly for the same reason you did, Brandon, because it worked out well for me that way last week. Win or lose, I was happy with the Cards outcome. Same going for me this week.
And user consensus on this one, 86% with the Cardinals. So Gerrad with the 14%, he's going to be if the Bucs win, he's going to be picking up a win on a lot of people. That's why I can feel okay going with the Cardinals too, knowing that a lot of other people are going that way.
I could legitimately change my pick on this game coming up to game day.
This is a hard game to pick. This is one of the tougher ones.
Yeah, I definitely don't see it the same way the user consensus do. However, I think I'm going to see it very much the way that the user consensus sees this next game. Jacksonville Jaguars, even though they're 0-1, put up a heck of a fight against the Green Bay Packers, Gerrad, on the road to take on your team your favorite team to love to hate, the San Diego Chargers.
I thought Jacksonville needed to win that game against Green Bay to try to make a statement. And they didn't. It was a giant letdown. I know a lot of people wanted them to win that game just because of the hype surrounding them in the offseason. But the one thing is, I don't think they've lost faith in their own ability to play. And they got a cupcake game against San Diego. San Diego, the victims of massive comebacks in football history, and they're always on the wrong side of it. Let's face it, the Chargers just aren't a very good team, and Jacksonville does have the talent. I think they're going to rebound, and they're going to beat the Chargers this weekend.
Yeah, but how surprised were you to see the Chargers come out the way they did against the Chiefs, put up all those points on the board? It started to look like the Chargers might run away with that game. But like you said, the victim of another big comeback by the Chiefs. Adam, I'm curious, since you did say that you think you know where you're going with the user consensus, where do you think it kind of lines out on this game?
I would guess Jacksonville 77%, and whatever the remaining percent is for the Chargers.
Well, that would be 23. It's actually a lot closer than you might think. User consensus for the Chargers, 47%, practically a coin flip in users' eyes on this game.
Wow, I'm stunned by that.
I don't know, users.
I think the Jaguars are clearly the better team. Is that who you got? You got Jags, Brandon?
I do have Jags, but I could... Well, the loss of Keenan Allen is huge for the Chargers, so that's a big reason why I'm going Jags. Even though they do have to come all the way across the country, I expect them to be a better team, and I think they showed that they can hang with the Packers. They just need to show that they can finish and get a win.
Thanks for taking over there, Jared, while I open my beer.
That ain't my job.
Well, I'm going to open my beer.
Well, we need to go into the winners here in a second, but I don't know if you're going to give your pick or not, Adam.
I did. I said I was going to.
Okay. Well, then I'm going to take over.
Somebody do the job.
Well, let's take a look at our overall group leaderboard for all 32 picks and IPAs on the NFL Weekly Pick'em. Group number 125, 528. If you haven't gotten in, you can go to picksandIPAs.com. Join us there, get in the league, and play along with us week to week. We got one user finished on top, and with 170 points. Bggddycool, 170, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 at 160, and I finished in the top 10 on this one, so feeling pretty good about myself.
That's the closest thing you'll ever hear to Brandan gloating, right there.
I would have loved to have posted that 170 though.
Oh man,
I would hang on to that
dude.
Pride for weeks.
Yeah, it was a lot better than the hundo I threw up there. But at least I got to I got to the bonus. See, that's the thing about these first few weeks. You just have to make sure you get to the bonus. And that's really it. So if you're kind of unfamiliar with how that works, look at the scoring system. But basically, you get some bonus points for getting to 10 correct picks. And that can oftentimes be a big way to either catch up or to extend your lead, is to make sure you get in that bonus every week. So maybe take that into account when you're figuring in your risk picks for the week.
Or you can just start making risk picks from week 1 like Brandan likes to do.
Yeah, that was last year. I could see his strategy is a little different this year. Not so many just wingers. He went from the gut last year. And we all know your gut has more nerve endings than your brain.
Yeah.
But it still didn't work out for him.
It almost worked out really well. Had the Saints game gone well for me, and had the Jets actually pulled out the win. If I would have been able to get 2 more wins, that would have been a big week.
You know what, Brandan? My picks would have been really good too if the ones that lost would have won for me instead.
It's just those last second games you lose.
Dude, how many games switched back and forth on everybody in the league this year? It was like, what was it, 8 games that were decided by a score or less or something like that?
7 or 8, something like that. But man, what a good week 1 overall. All the games, it was competitive. That was nice.
It was fun to watch. It's good to be back. It's good to have football back, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
All right. Well, this is the fireworks bowl, I believe, of this week, because I think defense will be optional for this game, Brandan. Atlanta Falcons on the road to play the Oakland Raiders.
And
again, defense optional.
The Raiders have to get a pass rush going in this game, and I think where we see a lot of users going is that they're going to get it done. And the Falcons are a good team to do that against, especially when they have to travel all the way across the country to the West Coast to take on Oakland. They're going to have to play on the baseball field because, yes, baseball's still going on. It's always weird to watch that game and see that. But 83% going with the Raiders. I think that team and what Jack Del Rio did against the Saints, that team's going to be all on board for their head coach now throughout the year. That was a big moment for them. I'm jumping on board the Raiders bandwagon. They might be the division winners, or at least challenge the Chiefs strongly for that division title.
They are not going to challenge the Broncos for that division title. They still just don't have the defense to do it. And I mean, this is going to be a high-scoring affair, no doubt about it. Like Adam said, defense optional. I don't even know if a defense will see the field. But, I mean, for Jack Del Rio to go for 2, that's more than I thought he had in him. I didn't think he was the type of coach to do that. They're going to ride that momentum. This is going to be a closer game than I think the user consensus would have led me to believe. I mean, 83% I think is a little bit high.
Yeah.
But the Raiders are definitely the more talented roster. It's just when it's going to be a shootout like this, where the secondaries are both pretty mediocre, high scoring, I'm going Raiders at home, though.
Yeah, I mean, because both of these defenses are so putrid, and I think that just makes this a real easy pick in the sense of not as, like you said, Jared, the 83%. I don't believe in that. I just think that the rationale that you need to use to get to your pick is really easy in this. Who has the best quarterback?
Who has the ball last?
Yeah, because the best quarterback is going to be the guy who wins this game. I mean, because it's going to be all about offense. Look, Amari Cooper has looked really, or that's his name, right?
Amari
Cooper. Sorry.
Same thing.
He's looked really great early on here this year, and obviously through his rookie year. Julio Jones says he's back, though, this week, so that's obviously a big threat for the Falcons. But, I mean, Matt Ryan, I mean, like, we're all done, right, with Matt Ryan? Like,
oh, yeah.
His window's closed. Like, this I don't see him leading this team any more further than he has in the past. Do you, Brandon?
No, he's kind of like, I don't know, a version of Donovan McNabb in that way. Now, McNabb actually went to a Super Bowl, but just one of those guys that you expect to be able to take a team far based on his skill at quarterback, but never really lives up to the hype.
All right. Well, I agree with you there. Yeah, I'm going Raiders as well at home. So on to an AFC matchup here. Talking about bad defenses. Holy smokes. Indianapolis Colts on the road to take on the Denver Broncos, Brandon. We saw the Seaman have a so-so game last week. Wasn't terrible. Wasn't great. It's steady enough. What do you think about this matchup?
Well, I mentioned last week that Andrew Luck said he was going to score a lot of points, and they ended up doing that. They had to make it for a heck of a comeback to score some points. But talk about one team has a defense and one team doesn't. It's the one with the defense that I'm going to go with. And users, again, 83% to 17%, just like the Raiders game. A lot of fans liking the Broncos.
That's because there's a lot of Broncos fans.
But I don't know about that. I wouldn't go that far. They're just people that are fans of good football that think that.
That's right. And the Broncos play good football.
Well, one half of the ball.
I'm going Broncos. I like the fact that Trevor Siemian's going to get a nice, easy game against a fairly mediocre secondary. At least what we saw last weekend, they were a mediocre secondary. I mean, obviously, we don't know too much about a team until about 4 weeks into the season, but I'm going Broncos here because that defense is probably going to break Andrew Luck again. And I like Siemian playing against a mediocre secondary in which we actually had a lot of success running the ball last weekend against a really talented front seven. Going Broncos at home.
Yeah, I think that you guys have kind of hit it on the head. I mean, because the number one weakness for the Broncos is the quarterback position. And fortunately for the Broncos in this matchup, the secondary for the Colts isn't really all that great. And I don't know. I think the Colts go down in this game and they end up being 0-2. Andrew Luck has another turnover or two. And then after that, what's the over-under on how many games until Pagano's fired, guys?
He's got to be on the hot seat for sure.
Yeah, he's going to be on the hot seat, but that defense, it's just hard to win with that defense.
You kind of have to blame the general manager more than anybody at this point, don't you?
And those are both guys that they signed extensions for in the offseason. Kind of.
I know.
It's weird.
It is weird. We're going to talk about another extension later on in the pod that I think is every bit as weird. But kind of like this. Yeah, I think this is Broncos all day. It's just it's the perfect matchup for them.
Every matchup's perfect for us. We're a good football team.
Oh, Jesus. All right.
I'm glad we didn't have to spend a whole lot of time on that.
Yeah, I know how you really shit on that last week. I wanted to talk a little bit about the defending champs in a Super Bowl rematch. Not going to happen.
You were on a Broncos roll.
First game of the season, it was exciting. Not happening.
And there was a reason why that show was an hour and a half, and it had a lot to do with our Broncos.
And it was because of the half hour of Broncos talk? All right. Moving on, NFC North. The Green Bay Packers on the road against the Minnesota Vikings, both undefeated, Gerrad. Sam Bradford, the savior, in for the Vikings this game, it sounds like, over Sean Hill. We got
Boomer Sooner.
Boomer Sooner.
Sam Bradford is the reason I'm picking the Packers. He's not very good. He's just not. And there's been so much wasted money, wasted draft picks on him. He's not going to know this Viking system well enough to come in and beat the Packers, a divisional team. However, the Vikings do have a good, well-rounded team. I think it's going to be closer than a lot of people are expecting this to be, just because the Packers have this kind of legendary name. They're supposed to be good. They're always supposed to be good. Teddy goes down. Packers should win. It's going to be close, but I'm still going Packers.
I don't know what does he need to know about this Vikings offense. Turn around, hand it to Adrian Peterson. Once in a while, look down the field and chuck it up to Stephon Diggs, who can go up and get the ball. I think Bradford, he doesn't need to know a whole lot to get things done. I think the Packers are overrated, and that's why I'm going Vikings in this one. And yes, it's far. This is my upset of the week because user consensus only 16% with the Vikings, but they're playing at home. They got the Packers. I'm liking the Vikings at home this week.
This isn't your upset of the week. This is why you're upset every week, is because you make picks like this.
Well, I know he's going to be super upset because he's not going to gain a pick on me in this game because I am also going with the 16%, Brandon.
Oh, I'm glad I'm picking one up on both of you.
Look, here's the thing. Do we all think that the Jags are discernibly better than the Vikings?
I think the Jags are better than the Vikings.
I don't know. I like that Vikings defense.
I like that Vikings defense a lot, too. And with that said, I mean, Bradford, no, he isn't good, but he's not terrible either. Like he can play a steady, one pick, one touchdown game. He can do it. It's in him, Gerrad. As much
you guys
as
are both picking. Wait, you guys are both picking Sam Bradford in his first game after he's been in a place for a couple of weeks against Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
Come on, you got to be kidding me.
To beat the Jaguars last week, the Packers didn't look that great. They needed some pretty incredible Aaron Rodgers things to pull that game out.
Which he does every single week.
Not every single week. He's got a super hot girlfriend. Sometimes he's distracted.
He might beat Bradford this week. That's all I'm saying. Aaron Rodgers might get the better of Sam Bradford.
But when we've seen Aaron Rodgers struggle, it's when a front four can really get great pressure on him. The Vikings really do have a better front four than the Jaguars. I think this is going to be a tough game for him. I don't think this is a big blowout win for the Vikings or anything. I think they're going to need like a special teams play to go their way or kind of a wacky turnover too, but I think it's just going to happen because it's the first game in their new stadium as well, correct?
Right.
Okay.
So I think it's going to be fired up. I'm going Vikings.
I'm so happy about that. That's ridiculous.
We'll see how happy you are next week.
I'm glad that you're glad. All right, to the last game, the late Sunday night game. There's no Monday night game this week. I don't understand why they do this. It's very weird to me.
No,
Sunday was the Packers.
Monday night game is Bears Eagles.
Oh, I was reading the phone backwards. That's fine. All right, Bears Eagles. It is Brandan.
Well, a lot of people are high on Carson Wentz and the Eagles after this last week, and to me, a 29-10 win over Cleveland is not something to get super excited for. I mean, I'm sure the Browns are pretty upset that they didn't hold on to their second pick, and especially after seeing RG3 go out. But I'm not sold on this Eagles team being all that great. And at the same time, the Bears, for them to lose to Houston, I think that's a superior team. So when I look at the user consensus on this one and I see 28% to the Bears and 72% to the Eagles, it doesn't seem that clear to me. The Bears at home, their home opener, right? And they're taking on an Eagles team that all they did was beat the Browns. They have a rookie quarterback. I think the Chicago Bears are going to pull this one out at home, and I like the upset.
This is the pick I hate the most in this week, I think.
Yeah, I actually struggle with this one, I think, more than any of the other picks. But Brandon, I'm with you. I mean, the Eagles played a cupcake Browns team. They beat them. Their rookie had a good game. I'm going to go Bears at home because I don't think the Eagles are all that good. Their talent is very low on the roster. I think Carson Wentz is going to have a mediocre game because there's a slightly better defense he's going up against. Not a great one, but obviously better than a Cleveland Browns team. I'm going the Bears at home. John Fox.
Well, John Fox is a good defensive coach. There's no doubt about that. I don't think they have any talent on that defense whatsoever, but no, it's pretty abysmal. But I do know that Jay Cutler has Kevin White and Alshon Jeffrey, and that's a pretty good duo. And I don't see that the Eagles have even that for offensive firepower. Now, the Eagles at least have some talent on defense, whether that's Malcolm Jenkins, the safety, or Fletcher Cox up front. I mean, he's a beast. I don't feel good about this one way or the other. I'm going Eagles, and great. I hope I'm right. I mean,
I don't.
Coin flip it.
And that's why, to me, I went Bears, because I looked at the game and I saw a coin flip. And when I saw a lot of people not going that way with their picks, so many people going Eagles, I like the Bears as an upset pick.
This is just one of those games that Smoking Jay loses, though.
No,
like
it's one that he randomly throws for 400 yards. That's what happens in this game.
One of the two.
I don't think so. Or he's supposed to be able to light up a team, and he just doesn't do it. And you just see the top of his helmet all game when he's walking off the field with his chin tucked to his chest. Like, that's what I'm thinking. What was the percentage on this, Brandon?
It was 24 or 26% with the Bears. Let me get back to it. I said it once. You weren't listening. 28% with the Bears, 72% with the Eagles.
Brandon, I was listening. I just didn't hear you. Okay, what, are we married now? Like,
I'm going to say, Brandon, you've been married a long time. Just to fly that you weren't listening right underneath your breath.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
I thought I'd get that in there.
All right. Well, I was listening that time, and I'm sorry, honey.
Listen next time. Listen. Open your ears next time.
You're right. I'm going to try to understand.
News and interesting topics from around the NFL.
Any headlines and stuff you guys wanted to suggest? I had one. I don't know about you guys.
Go ahead. Let's talk about it.
All right. Jared's ready to wrap up the pod. So
no, I just want to hear what you got to say, so I can tell you you're wrong.
Well, I think you're going to agree. It's reported that Jeff Fisher and Les Snead, the general manager, get extensions in LA after getting the beatdown put on him, 28-0. Brandon,
I don't know if this is official yet, though. This is rumored. I haven't seen the official report on this yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought
I've heard
official,
it rumored.
All right. Well, let's talk about whether they should do it or not then, because if that's the hot rumor, what do you think, Brandon? If they did pull the trigger as a fan of a rival team, would you be, because that's how you measure these things, right? Like your rival team picks up a player and you're like, oh no, or all right, I'm glad they got that guy. What would you think about this?
Well, considering the Los Angeles Rams haven't scored a point since December 24th, 1994, I think it's a little early to be offering extensions to those guys, because you at least have to put points up on the board first, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's at least a necessitous part of being a good football coach, is scoring points with your football team.
Necessitous. I like that word.
As long as you have the talent to be able to do it. I don't know if Jeff Fisher's really the problem. It's just the talent on the roster, which starts where?
I'm at the point now, I'm done being a Jeff Fisher apologist. Because how long has it been since any of those Titan teams were any good? Like, he coached for them for a long time, and they were just mediocre.
But that front office never spent money. They didn't give him a thing. Barely had anything to even win a game with. He's in the same position with St. Louis. He'll just never have the talent to do it.
I don't know, man. I just think that
Tennessee is notorious for not spending money.
Yeah.
They always have been. And he was coaching there. He just happened to be the guy.
Look, I think the only way these guys get an extension is if Jeff Fisher somehow has a picture of Stan Kroenke, the owner of the Los Angeles Rams, getting blown by his wife's sister. Like, there's got to be some sort of blackmail involved here if these guys are going to get an extension at this point.
Yeah, we're looking at a picture of Hannah Davis. You pick. I don't know.
Well, let's talk about another topic that I know Jared's going to be passionate about, because Cam Newton got knocked around in that game against the Broncos. And
you're damn right.
A lot of people thinking that too many hits to the head. I see you guys laughing. Did I move on too soon from that last one?
It's fine if you didn't pick up on that.
Did you have more to say?
It was dumb.
No. Right into his wheelhouse about the hits on Cam, though. I mean, look, was he hitting the head too many times? Probably. I don't think that he was being specifically targeted there either. I just think that the league did need to do a better job of putting him through concussion protocol. How are you not a little dizzy after some of those hits that he took? I don't think it's humanly possible. I don't care how big you are.
Well, and I thought we saw 180 degrees difference in how Ed Hockley's crew handled it in this game, and because you saw the Buffalo Bills quarterback, I want to say E.J. Manuel, but that's the backup.
Yeah,
Tyrod Taylor came out of the game.
He got sandwiched by two guys that looked like hit him right in the head, and you kind of saw him look like he got dinged up pretty good. They took him out for a couple plays, evaluated him, and he was allowed to come back in the game. And I think whether or not, I mean, some people will make the argument, oh, you can't really tell if a guy has a concussion within, about 10 seconds of talking to him. But at least they're going through the motions and trying to diagnose it. They didn't do anything like that with Cam Newton.
Yeah, that was the frustrating thing that I saw, is because all this head injury awareness, and he's knocked out for a good second or two at least when he's on the ground after that Darian Stewart hit. And nobody even came to see if he was okay. The refs didn't even come to check on him.
Nope.
So I was not entertained by the concussion protocol in that game, given what they're supposed to do nowadays when a player takes a hit to the head. I think the rest of it was kind of blown out of proportion, the targeting and the dirty team and all that stuff, because there was one hit where I think you could maybe make a legitimate case for, and that was a Darian Stewart hit. I think you could probably say maybe he targeted him a little bit because it was directly to his helmet. The rest of it, it's a lot of inadvertent helmet contact. That happens in every single game. And I just think because of that, the concussion thing where they didn't take him off the field from the Darian Stewart hit, that made everything kind of get blown out of proportion a little bit.
Well, and our favorite crybaby shit-ass coach, Ron Rivera, comes out and he's like, oh, the refs treat him, Cam unfairly because he's so big. This is the same crap I had to hear from Laker fan forever about Shaq. Oh, they let him get away with so much on Shaq. Why Shaq's like killing guys
I think
there.
Ron Rivera is going to take a knee during the coin toss.
During the coin toss,
probably just to kind of dispute the referees. To make a stand.
And
Cam Newton head awareness.
That'll be the new symbol of head trauma, is taking the knee at the coin toss.
And he's gonna choose heads.
Always choose heads.
That's right. Yeah, that hashtag choose heads. That's what this movement will be called.
Cam Newton
right
awareness.
Here. Yeah. Concussion. Yeah, big dude concussion awareness. Unbelievable. That's his new nickname, dude. He's crybaby shit ass. That's who Ron Rivera is from here on out.
Well, speaking of dudes taking a knee, Brandon Marshall took a knee for the Broncos and ended up losing a couple sponsors. But one thing I thought was interesting was a fan burned a Brandon Marshall, or a jersey with Brandon Marshall's name on it, outside of Broncos headquarters. And then Marshall responds that he's burning a T-shirt that he bought and drew on.
It's just, I don't know. I mean, everybody has their own stance on the whole kneeling thing. It's both good and bad. It's free speech, but whatever the flag represents to you, I mean.
So what I find hilarious is that the fan that was so offended that somebody mistreated the symbol then took the symbol of his fandom and lit it on fire.
Try to explain that one.
That's just, it's oozes of hypocrisy. It's hilarious to me.
I just like Marshall's response that he's going to go buy a T-shirt and draw on it and light it on fire.
So at least some of the players, they'll just take a knee, and it's that very surface thing. Well, I'm trying to make a difference. They'll take a knee, and it lasts for about 30 seconds, but they really didn't have to make any sort of effort.
Yeah.
Brandon Marshall he's making an effort. Yeah, he's donating $300 every tackle he makes to like a tackle change organization or something like that.
Sure.
So he actually is trying, and he's making an effort. So I applaud him.
Yeah.
No, and I think that's what the important message that's going. I listened to Dr. Harry Edwards on the Jim Rome show, and that's what he is saying, that to all these people, part of the movement, that the important thing is the follow through, not the demonstration, but the actual follow through, and going and meeting with folks in the community, and that's what they're doing, and wanting to make your community better. I don't see how you can find that bad.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, when anybody has their heart in the right place, and it's not like they're hurting anybody else to try to make some change for the better. I mean, how can you be down on them? This doesn't make much sense to me.
I don't know, but there's a Bronco fan out there who does not agree.
he's lied about $80 for that he spent on that jersey.
Yeah, that's just stupid.
Yeah, he literally lit money on fire in front of Broncos headquarters, man.
That's ridiculous.
All right, you guys got anything else?
I don't really have any other headlines.
No, Gerrad once again did not bring one headline to the discussion. Talk about doing the bare minimum. He basically just took a knee on the podcast.
I am the headline. What do you need? Listen to my picks. You'll win.
Yeah, right. Except for Brandan. Brandan topped you last week.
Yeah, 1 week.
So if you listen to Brandon's, like, you win more.
Yeah, but then I just heard you guys' picks, and now I'm not worried.
We'll see. We'll see how it turns out next week.
Yes.
Week 2 is a whole new world. Well, I think with that, guys, there's only 2 things left to say, and that is hooray, Bear.
Hooray, Bear.
Hooray, Bear.
And hooray, football.
Yeah.
Hooray, real football.
Join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Picks and IPAs.